I'm telling you, folks, Boston College football head coaching job is a better fit for Bill O'Brien than being the offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Now, if you're a Boston College fan, you have been wondering where this coaching search is at. I'm going to give you a little bit of a morsel of the update of where things are at. We are now into the second round of interviews as I've been able to note, 6 coaches have met with Blake James, and I believe he may have other people with him, down in Atlanta, Georgia, for the second round of interviews. Now, those second rounds, they're pushing it off campus for actually kind of a smart reason, doing the same thing that Syracuse did, which is keeping it away from social media. People can't see it. But I think the name that everybody wants to see, that everyone is waiting for in Boston College Nation, my odds-on favorite to win this job is current Ohio State co-offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien. Now, Bill has been our favorite here on this podcast since the beginning. As I said, he checks a lot of boxes that Boston College is looking for. This is a guy with experience both at the NFL level and at the college level, and he's been successful at both. He has connections to Nick Saban. He has connections to Bill Belichick. He has local ties. He's the perfect package in terms of what Boston College could hope for. I've talked to other writers and bloggers and podcasters. Every single person I've talked to says, wow, that's a great fit for BC. But is it a great fit for Bill O'Brien? I saw a Ohio State podcast, and I don't remember the name of it, that was asking this same question on their episode earlier today. They were wondering, why would a offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes leave such a prestigious job to go to lowly Boston College to be the head coach? They begged the question, wouldn't you be paid around the same? And then, wouldn't this be a better opportunity for Bill O'Brien to get to expand his to be a stepping stone to that next level? I don't agree with any of that. Well, first of all, money wise, if Bill O'Brien, this is why if it was a money thing, Boston College would make more sense. Just looking, because Ohio State is a public school, you can find the money and find out what they're making. Brian Hartline, who is a co-offensive coordinator, who would be, the other guy with Bill O'Brien, makes $1.5 million as their offensive coordinator. That's a good chunk of change. They work a lot, but that's a lot of money, right? If you did any research to find out what Jeff Hafley made, rough estimate, $4 million. That's around what he made. It might have been a little bit lower, maybe a bit a little higher. So it's about double what Brian Hartline made. So money shouldn't be an issue here. I also believe, based off of conversations I've had, that there's a potential that Bill O'Brien could make more than Jeff Hafley. I imagine that if he's going to come here, there's going to be things in his contract for success. It seems like that would be a good thing for him to have, right? So money's one piece. The job itself, I think, is another big piece. Because when you look at what BC can offer, yeah, you're not going to win national championships like Ohio State. You are going to come into a job with less expectations, lowered expectations, which sounds funny, but hey. But if you succeed at those lower expectations, I mean, Think of what Boston, if you're a Boston College fan listening to this podcast right now, if you won 8 games next year, how would you feel? I'm guessing the words would be elated, excited, thrilled. Now, if you're an Ohio State fan and you win 10 games and lose 2, how are you going to feel? Upset, want Ryan Day fired, irrationally mad. That's the differences here. The level of what you could do to be successful at Boston College versus to be successful at Ohio State are vastly different. He's coming from a program that had these exact same issues. You talk to Alabama fans about what they think about Bill O'Brien, and you would think he was the second coming of Gary Tranquil. This is when they won, was it either 10 or 11 games. Bryce Young won the Heisman. They scored 40 points a game, and he was looked at like he was incompetent. Can you imagine that if you brought a guy here that won Thomas Castellanos the Heisman, scored 40 points a game, won 11 games, and they still wanted him fired? You can't imagine. It's incomprehensible. So the expectations here at Boston College are also realistic. And that goes into the final piece here about on the field things, which is job security. As I said earlier, Ohio State fans have a very high expectation for their program. BC fans would kill to have Ryan Day. Ohio State fans, now because they've lost to Michigan, 2 years in a row, they want Ryan Day gone. Hey, if you guys want Ryan Day, we'll take him right now if you want. I mean, BC will take him. We can bring him on over. But this is what we're talking about. He takes this job at Ohio State. Say they lose to Michigan again. I mean, Michigan's going to be good again next year. They're the national champions, right? They're not, even though they lost Harbaugh, they should still be okay. If Ohio State loses to the Wolverines, Day will get fired and O'Brien will get fired. And then he's back to trying to figure something else out, moving his family around, having to be away from them. Does he want that at this age? You could come to Boston College, and if you're good enough, you could cement yourself in this area, an area that he grew up in, and become something special. I don't know where I read this, but I didn't know he got married at St. Ignatius Church at BC. So he's got a little connection there. He's got a connection with me. I got married at the same church. So I love this. I think that this is the reasons why when you hear the buzz that Bill O'Brien was interested in this job, there's a whole bunch of other reasons. And in a moment, I'm going to explain about a family reason I think that would also be a big impact for him. And I'll get into all of that in just a moment. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. You thinking that they're going to kick a 50-yard field goal? You can make that bet. You think that Patrick Mahomes is going to score 3 touchdowns? You can add that in and make that a parlay. If you're into parlays are a lot of fun. On FanDuel, it's so easy to figure them out, get the right odds you're going to get, see what you're going to get paid out. It's so easy to put together. And the best part of FanDuel is they pay you out instantly. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but they also have bets for anything you can think of. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. As we're talking here, I have had the biggest week in the history of Eagle Insider. We have added so many new subscribers. If you're one out there that have subscribed, thank you so much for joining. We've been adding as much coaching news as we can as it comes, and I've got the most accurate news out there right now. Go over right now. You can sign up for 60% off. It's like $330 a month. Support my work. Get the best Boston College community out there. It's getting bigger every day. I hope you decide to join us. So there's one other big factor, and it's something I don't hear a lot of Ohio State folks talking about, and because that's a football brain. They're a very, very, very passionate group, and I get it. But I've kind of alluded to it, but I've read more and more about it, so it's out there. Bill O'Brien has a very sick son who has a neurological disorder that causes him to have seizures constantly, and that doctors in this area have been helpful in helping him manage and care for that. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know what Bill O'Brien's family is going through, what they want, but I have to imagine being able to get the care that you need for your kids and for you to be near them too would be an important thing for him. I was reading about how during COVID-19, he was very adamant about making sure that he followed certain protocols so he didn't get his kids sick. Like a lot of us that with COVID, right? Like it's just a cold for you, or you get a stuffy nose. For a kid that has a compromised immune system, it's serious. So it's clear that he cares a lot about his kid. And I think it would be meaningful for him to be back in the area where his child is getting, and I think he's more than a child now, I think he's a teen, can get care. I think that's a super important piece. So all of this I feel are big pieces. I also wonder as well that BC has really made him, they've rolled out the red carpet as much as Boston College can. You read about all the names listed and you talk to folks who know what's going on, and Bill O'Brien's name is all you hear about, right? I mean, there's a reason why, if you go back over the podcast that I have done, I haven't really mentioned any other names because all I hear about is him. It's very clear that he is the favorite of this school. Boston College wants him, and he can get a chance now to get to be a head coach again. It's been a while. And he was a head coach at Penn State, he was a head coach with the Texans, but since then it's been offensive coordinator at Alabama, offensive coordinator for the Patriots, now offensive coordinator for the Ohio State. I get the sense from him that he would love to have his own program again. And Boston College in his own backyard would be the perfect stepping stone. And as I said on yesterday's episode, it's okay if BC's a stepping stone. There's nothing wrong with that. I think Boston College fans that think that this should be a destination where people coach for 20 years, you need to get your priorities in check, because it's never going to happen. And if you're going to think that way, you're going to disappoint yourself all the time. All I think BC really wants from Bill O'Brien is to get BC back in the position where they could be battling as a top 25 team, to get to 8+ wins, to get some excitement back in this program. They feel that Bill O'Brien could do all of this. And so it's a big thing for him, right? That you're being asked by a local program to do all of these things. Or you could go to Ohio State, where you're one of two at the same position. You could run your own program in your own backyard for more money, near your family, or you could go back and work for a school that the coach is on the hot seat, that you're working in the same position as somebody else, that you have a great team, but you also have humongous expectations. It seems like a slam dunk that Bill O'Brien would be interested in this, and that's why he's in Atlanta right now. I can confirm that he's not at Ohio State right now. Now the big question is, when will he make his decision? When will BC make his decision? I don't know. Pete Thamel tweeted out on Monday that they expect to know by the end of the week. by the end of the week, that is classic PR terms for it could happen anytime now. It could happen on Friday. It could be a Friday news dump. It could be on Wednesday. It could be today if you're listening on Wednesday. I don't know. I don't know how fast these interviews are going to go. I don't know what the second steps are going to be because they're being very quiet about it. So the information has been quiet. We've obviously seen some leaks coming out now, which gives us a better idea of what's going on. But right now, on Tuesday, I still think Bill O'Brien is the favorite for this job. I think the reaction that Boston College fans are going to have if he is hired is going to be more overwhelmingly positive than any coaching hire that I've ever seen. More Halfley was positive, but I think there were people who thought, rightfully so, that he wasn't ready for it. Earl Grant was moderate to no interest at all because people didn't know who he was. There was no interest in Steve Adazio. There was no interest in Jim Christian. There was some interest in Steve Donahue, but was a lot of excitement? No. Frank Spaziani? No. So this has the potential to be a historic hire for BC. Because then when you go into next season, you're comparing coaches. BC no longer has, the coach that's on the hot seat, the coach that's we're not sure what he's going to do. You have a coach that has experience that and all of a sudden recruits are seeing this and they're feeling it too. I think Bill O'Brien sees what he could do here. I think Bill O'Brien is the right choice, and I think it's still a better job for him than Ohio State. And for Buckeye fans, I apologize. I know you're going to probably all eat me up in the comment section, but that's what I feel. This is my show. That's what I'm going to stick with. In our final segment, I'm going to switch things up and talk about how Blake James wants to make a splash hire in football. And I beg the question, does Blake James also want to make a splash hire in basketball? We'll get into what I mean by that in just a moment. Now, if you are in the process of looking for tickets to your local theater, concerts, or shows, you need to check out Gametime in sports too. It's a fast and easiest way to buy tickets to all your shows. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with the code Vegas100. We kill last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, which I told you guys. If you have not listened to my show, the views from your seat is the best. No surprises. You know exactly what you're going to see when you get to that venue. And their best price guarantee. When I was looking for tickets, I go on there all the time because I'm like, oh, what's going on? It tells you your price, so you know what you're getting. And then there's no hidden fees. A lot of ticket resellers, you see the prices, then it's like you hit your submit, and it's like, whoa, that was not the price I agreed to. Gametime is not like that. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Right now, all Gametime users get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms applies. Just download the Gametime app and use code Vegas100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. Now, I was going to talk about the Beanpot, but unfortunately, with coaching search, I go with what gets the most interest, and the Beanpot doesn't get it, especially when you lose. I don't mean to be like a front runner, but hockey is a niche type of sport, and when they lose, folks don't want to listen to it. So I didn't get into that, and I was like, oh, I'll talk about basketball. Well, basketball suffered a devastating loss on Tuesday to Florida State 63-62. And I was going to talk about it because I was like, oh, yeah, it's been a bad week for BC sports because you had these two things. You're still waiting for Bill O'Brien. What's going on? But I watched the game, the basketball game, and Beacon Street Ball could tell you more about this. And it floors me that BC keeps making the same stupid mistakes over and over and over again. BC fell behind by I think it was like 19-4 to start the game. And they looked pathetic. They look like a team that had been sitting and not playing for a week against Florida State, who's not all that great, and they made them look great. And then they played the way that BC always does, which is battle back and forth, battle back and forth, battle back and forth. Until the final, they made some stops near the end. They missed on one big offensive rebound for Florida State. Florida State misses the front end of a one and one, excuse me. 10.5 seconds. They run it across half court, call timeout. BC gets the ball and tries to inbound it, and Jaden Zachary immediately gets double teams and has nowhere to go with it, and then basically he can't even get a shot off, and they lose. That was the best. They called the timeout with 10.1 or 5.8 seconds left. That was the best that they could come up with. Was just, and like they had no help, they had nothing going on there, and I'm not a basketball analysis person, but how many games can Earl Grant lose that were winnable? It feels like he loses the lot of them. And yes, they beat Syracuse last week. That felt great. But now BC sits at 13-9. I think they got Duke next. It just feels like the season's already done. Like all the spark and excitement that folks had going into the 2023-24 season is gone. It just feels like every other year. And it's not just me saying that. Looking at, it's a Tuesday night. I don't know what kids on campus have, but BC basketball is so uninteresting on a 7:00 on a Tuesday night. There must have been 20 students there. I mean, I don't know how many exactly, but I don't blame them. The product's bad. Again, it's not exciting. So this begs my question. This was supposed to be year 3 for Earl Grant, where things were supposed to take a big step forward. You have Quinton Post. You're expecting him to be your star. He's supposedly not only all ACC, but looked to be all American at one point. Let's be frank. You've coached yourself out of a bunch of wins, whether it's Loyola Chicago, this game. I mean, you can go down the list of all the stupid losses BC's had. Syracuse a couple months ago. Blake James must be watching Conti Forum at, tiny capacities when it's not UNC. He probably is watching as this team is not very competitive anymore. Well, they're competitive, but not that they're not competitive, that they're making tons of stupid mistakes. And that he has a coach that is costing them more wins than costing them wins and giving them more losses. If he's interested in making a splash hire in football, wouldn't he want splash hires in all his sports? Todd Interdonato for baseball was a pretty big splash hire. If he's got the budget, if you're gonna have to spend more money on Bill O'Brien to get him here than you did with Jeff Hafley, I imagine. If he's got more money to spend, does he decide at the end of this year, okay, it's not working out with Earl Grant, we're going to go for somebody else? I don't think it's that out of the realm of possibility. If things continue to fall apart, if this team, they're not going to make the tournament, but if they no longer are even close to the NIT, if you've taken such a step back that you didn't go forward with what you had, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Blake James looks elsewhere and says, okay, well, I'm going to make another splash hire. Maybe it's time Earl Grant is not the coach. And Earl seems like a great guy. I just keep watching what's going on the court and the mistakes this team continues to make, coming out flat every single game. I don't understand how a team can come out flat every week. Like, there's nothing as a coach you can do to fix that. You got to figure out a way to spark them. Like, every game you should not have to play catch up because you stunk for the first 10 minutes. And then down the stretch, what are they, 13-9? They've done a few more games where they played well, but many of the times they're just blowing it down the stretch. So I wonder, is Blake James going to say, okay, we're going to have to do a basketball coach hire too. We're going to fix this too while we're at it. If he ends up with Bill O'Brien, I'm all for it. If that's what he thinks, he can get a bigger name here, someone who could add some stability and excitement to basketball too. All the power to him, because what I saw tonight was not acceptable. What I saw tonight should not be happening when you have a team that has enough talent and enough older players like Jade Zachary and Quinton Post out there. They should not be getting like blowing ends of games like this. They could lose this game and that would have been okay. But the fact that they got the only play that they got did not even involve getting a shot off is unacceptable. That's all the only words I can use. On tomorrow's show, we'll see what's going on with this coaching search. If there's any updates, we'll give it. Hey, if there's a name, we'll find out. If there's more other things that we can talk about, we can talk about that as well. Thank you all for listening. I'm AJ Black. Follow me on AJ at AJ Black 247 on Twitter. You can check me out at Eagle Insider. Make sure you bookmark and like this podcast anywhere you're listening. It does help us out. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day.